Hello, and welcome back to the language room. Today, we are talking about kanji, and boy, do I have a lot for you. Because after years of learning Japanese on my own, and now prepping for JLPT, even if I don't pass it, I think one thing that I will take away is how to tackle kanji, and for Japanese, I think that is the biggest lesson to learn. So, before I start on the best way I think is to learn Japanese, here's what I've been doing wrong all this time. So here are the 3 mistakes I made while learning kanji in the past 3 years. Starting off with number 1, avoiding them. I know it sounds silly and you're gonna have to do it at some point, but I think we've all been through this, where we're learning a grammatical structure or vocabulary and we see this complicated kanji and we're like, maybe I don't really need this, especially to speak it, and that was me. But now that I do need to read it, I think it's become a bit important, and here's 2 reasons why it's not worked out in my favor. Number 1, I know the words. I can understand a word when you say it, for example, shokuhin, but when you present the kanji to me, I cannot understand it. So I do not have any kanji to associate the words to. And number 2, you might come across 2 very similar sounding words or homophones in Japanese, but you cannot make out the difference until you know the kanji. So I think that, along with the need to read it, bad decision. Number 2, not understanding what makes kanji. So even if it is a large number of things to learn, there is still some reason behind what it looks like and how it sounds. And the thing is, I just never took the time to investigate that, to understand the reason behind the stroke order or behind, say, the different parts of a kanji. And that made me perceive the kanji as just random strokes coming together to form some random word, and not understanding why some kanji sound different with some words and different with others. And cracking the code to this really blew my mind. So more on it in a bit, but moving on to number 3, mnemonics. It's ironic because I did preach about this in the previous video, but what I'm talking about here is not the technique, but how I applied it. Now, considering that I didn't know why the parts of each kanji were like that, or what are the building blocks of a kanji, and it seemed like random strokes on a page to me, all my mnemonics and stories that I created around a particular kanji were so random and remained unconnected. Yeah, they remained unconnected. So even though I did have a bunch of stories, when it came to memorizing a large number of kanji, and especially since you need at least 2000 to be fluent, they all got mixed up. So there's no consistency in terms of how I basically understand the words. I think those 3 things made it tough for me to completely and quickly understand kanji and kind of relate each kanji to another. So after prepping for JLPT, here's how I fixed that, and what I think is actually the best method to learn kanji. They really weren't lying about this, but number 1, learn your radicals. I was so unaware about this, but radicals are basically the building blocks of kanji. So even though you might have 2000 to 10,000 of kanji, all of them are basically permutations and combinations of these 204 radicals, and that sounds like a much easier proposition to learn, right? And once you understand these radicals, which by the way often have meanings of themselves, so if you learn some radicals, you've actually learned some kanji as well. So if you know the building blocks and if you know the meaning of the building blocks, here's where it impacts mnemonics. Now that you have the meaning of the building blocks, it's easier to maintain consistency, as I said, across them. For example, let's take this kanji. On the left, you have the radical for hito or person, and on the right, you have the kanji for earth or uchi. And if you combine the 2, you can make up a story like, I am a person attending life on this earth or something like that. But yes, uh, and the second is that there are often cases when you need to guess the meaning of a kanji, or when you need to guess the sound of a kanji. And in the second case, this especially helps because there are kanji like this where radicals are attached. We need to provide sound to the kanji. So the meaning for this would be copper, but it sounds like do. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is that, for example, even if you don't learn the radicals, this can be applied to kanji as well, because if you know some kanji, they are again combined with further kanji. It keeps compounding and the permutations and combinations keep increasing and the list gets longer. But yes, it's okay. We can do it. Also, please write down the radicals at least, because I think writing at least helps me understand them and place them better. Because if I know how to write the radicals, it becomes easier to write the kanji if I come across a new one. So yes, that's it for number 1. Second step is learn Onyomi and Kunyomi, at least the concepts, because this actually blew my mind. And here's a short history lesson from editor me. If you know Onyomi, Kunyomi, you can understand how to read a kanji depending on the context it is in, if you've come across it before. And if you, for example, learn a kanji in a particular context, you know how it sounds there and you can apply the same to the next one. Crazy. For example, taberu, taberu. So it says tabe, which is the Kunyomi. But in compound kanji, it sounds like shokuhin, shokuryo, shokuryo. I don't know, but the shoku is common. So once you learn the shoku in one context, you can apply it if you see it with a random new kanji that you've never seen before. Like, oh, this is the kanji for food, and when it's with another kanji, it means food, but with shoku. So crazy. Yes. How I did that was basically I used Obenkyo, best app for learning kanji and grammar. So I use that. I test myself regularly on the readings, but prioritize meanings over readings, I would say, and then learn the readings as you go in the context, just like I explained. And the final step is add 1 and 2 to learn kanji in context, because as I said, textbooks are out and immersion is in. But yes, so learn it in context, and what I mean by that is either through vocabulary or through different sentences you might come across, either through content, media, books, etc. And while learning them, apply the 2 basics of the radical base story and second, the Onyomi and Kunyomi, and actively try to use your brain. I mean, obviously you are, but like actively try to remember maybe where you've seen this kanji before and in what way have you seen this before, as in what reading was it, the context based Onyomi or Kunyomi reading of it. And if you understand the meaning of say one kanji, that way Japanese is very logical, because maybe the formation of one kanji is pretty difficult. That's why you have to assign your own meanings to the storyline to get to what it actually means. But when you place one full kanji and with another full kanji, it's very easy to understand what the entire compound kanji means. Last but not the least, combine step number 3 with Anki flashcards, because there's nothing better than spaced repetition for improving your memory and bringing ideas, concepts, vocab to life. And yes, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you use spaced repetition and recognize patterns and all that good stuff, and you're able to do this. We can do this together. Yes, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye. Thanks.